Founders Friends.
Okay, now, Cal Bombay, stand up. Come on, Cal, all those years. And I have people, I just did 174 communities, and I'm sure in 170 of them, they said, how are Cal's chickens? As our daily commentator. Well, Cal, what do you got to say tonight?
The chickens are gone, but I'll tell you, for 25 years I was a part of this ministry, and it actually launched me into what I'm doing now.
And your heart has always been in Africa, and it's still there.
Always been in missions and always will be, and what we're doing in South Sudan right now is a direct result of what started right here in this building. And
I remember when Lady Cox, she was the Deputy Speaker of the House of Lords, came to be a guest on Huntley Street, and she's the one that stoked the fire. Cal, thank you very much. God bless. God bless you. And your lovely wife, Mary, who's traipsied all over the world with him. Val Dodge, stand up. Val, I mentioned this over here. Let's see, where can I get a close-up again of that? I was so proud of this cookbook, Val. You and I had real fun on 100 Huntley Street.
Would we make it on the Food Network now?
and you know, let me say that when somebody came into 100 Huntley Street who was desperate for help, I'd go down to the kitchen and pull our chef out. And then he went full-time in ministry, gave you a leave of absence to study, promised that you'd come back. And Val, you have a vision for families now, and Family Altar. Yeah. And I would love to increase the number of families that have family altars and get away from the TV and the internet and all that.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole premise behind Family Blessing Initiative, Revival at Home. And I'm in the process of doing a 52-day book on prayer for the families.
When you do that, I would like to strongly encourage the powers that be to have Val on. Thank you, Val. God bless. God bless. And your lovely wife from Ireland, you know, Dublin's fair maiden here. And I won't try to sing that song, but it's an old one. Gord Williams, stand up here. Gord, welcome back.
Good to be back.
Now, you were on yesterday. You had about, I think, about 8 minutes yesterday, so make it short, Gord. What do you got to say?
Well, you know, it's still an exciting time to have ministry. I remember one program, and it was the theme was Pentecost, and I was doing the scriptural overview at the end. Yes. And so, with the last minute, I gave an invitation for anybody who's watching to pray along to receive the baptism of the Holy Spirit. There was a young man working at a service station up in Ottawa, and between filling up cars, he prayed with me. Then he ran back to the next car, and he went to ask, how much would you like? And started speaking in tongues. Every time for 2-3 days.
No, this is George Foreman said yesterday that he did it. Thank you, Gordon. Yeah. Thank you. George Foreman talked about his experience as well yesterday. So I got a whole second row to do here, Gordon. So you had 8 minutes yesterday. That's good. Al Reimers, stand up. Reverend Al Reimers, an Anglican priest. Al, how you doing?
Mostly well.
How's Marilyn?
Well, she could be a little bit better. She wasn't in here tonight because she wasn't feeling well this morning.
Now, Al and I were in Sudbury. I was pastor of a church, and you were the rector of an Anglican church, and we got together and became friends. And when we started Huntley Street, I said, I want Al Reimers. Somebody has to put a little dignity into this place here. Al, what do you got to say?
Well, I'm thinking that it was a good start up there in Sudbury, but it was a better finish down here.
Okay, thank you, Al. Thank you very much, Al. Lorna Dewitt, come on, stand up here. Now, Lorna, you already had a little congratulatory message there. But I want to congratulate you on stepping in to the CBC building on Front Street and taking space there. I understand that Peter Mansbridge said something about, you know, was it Peter that said something?
He just loves it that you're doing 50 years.
No,
and I
it
think
was about you, wasn't it?
No, it was about you.
Oh, it was about me.
Definitely about you. I don't think he's noticed me.
Somebody said that you're brave and good luck.
We've had a few of those. But you know, you chose F's for this week, Founders Friends, and that absolutely, Vernon, I would love to know that we're your friends. We want you to know that always. But remember the P's: prayer, passion, patience, persistence. You taught them to us all. Thank you.
Thank you, Lorna. Thank you so much. And Vern, her husband, who's just a fine Man supports Lorna all the way. Reynold, stand up. This is my son, Reynold. I mentioned he spent the whole month of March in Israel taking pictures for me that will be part of this blog, 100words.ca. Reynold, 50 years ago, were you around yet? Yes, you were.
I was 9 months old when
we
Crossroads
started
began.
Crossroads.
It's easy for me to remember how old Crossroads always is because I just remember my own age. And while I was in Israel, my beautiful wife, Kathy, was in Africa for a few weeks. Now, on Friday, we're going to be with you on 100 Huntley Street. So we're going to save a lot of the stories for Friday. Okay. But we love you, Dad. And a lot of people are celebrating what has taken place through the ministry. And as your children, we celebrate what God has done through you, our Father, as we've hung on to your coattail and you dragged us through Canada, here, there, and everywhere for 50 years and more. And it's been wonderful.
Yeah, and Kathy was in London. Your daughter, Elizabeth, who married David Lee, who is at the Argonauts training camp as we speak. It starts in June, and they just got married, and Kathy was helping to move.
Well, any moving day starts very early and goes very late.
Kathy's not here. We'll see her on Thursday, on Friday. On Friday, yeah. Okay. Ray, David, Glenn, and Matthew, stand up. I think we have a picture somewhere of a very special lady. In fact, I drove down Appleby today and I had a wave of sadness that came over me. Every time I drive down Appleby Road here in Burlington, I think of this wonderful lady who was my co-host, whose mother, and as a result, Rhonda and the family, came to know Jesus. And Ray David is the rector of St. George's, Burlington, and temporarily, they're meeting in our chapel right here behind us. Have you seen our chapel? Well, maybe you can't see it. There's not too much you can see, especially with that camera. Okay, there it is. And you're meeting there, but you're building a new building?
That's right, we are. We've just undertaken a new building right on Appleby line at the 407, by God's grace. Yeah.
And little guy's tears. Okay, you can sit down. Thanks, I can't take much more of this or I'll lose it totally. Love you guys so much. And Rhonda had just graduated from Osgood Hall and was going into the law profession, and she told me one time, and Ray David told me, or Rhonda, both of them, that they thought, well, what we should do he's a clergyman, she's a lawyer, we should do a show called The Law and Grace. How do you like that? Hi, Shirley Brush. How are you? You were here way back at the beginning.
I was, and I had the opportunity of having many coaches filled with your partners coming in to the studio audience, and they loved you so much.
Bless you, Shirley. Thank you very much. She's a volunteer still. Okay, now I'm going to, what's this? Tell me about, no, I'm not finished. I got to go to the next roll, George. George, this is not yet. Rod Hembry. This may take the rest of the hour. I don't know. Rod Hembry, stand up.
Yes, sir.
Producer for 100 Huntley Street. Rod, what do you got to say?
On behalf of David, on behalf of all the missionaries that you have given airtime to over the years, thank you. Danny Curl, Kay Gordon, Mark Bentane, thank you for giving the airtime to the missionaries so they could build their ministries and change people. You did that. Thank you for doing that.
God did it. Sit down, Ron. You said too much. Okay, and Ralph and Diane. Diane, I remember the phone just lit up when you sang "Nobody Cared for Me Like Jesus." Diane, stand up. Diane was a regular, and she was the receptionist. Remember the time the guy came in dressed in a loincloth and announced he was?
He had some.
Who did he say he was?
Well, I think he thought he was John the Baptist or Tarzan. I'm not quite sure because of how he was dressed. I was coming up the stairs and I saw him right there.
Yeah, and you were there with phone reports so regularly. Bless you, Diane, and thank you. Thank you. So Ralph Rutledge, come on, stand up here. And Ralph,
I got to get this lady.
Come on, Evelyn, you stand too.
She was on the second program.
The second Crossroads program, way back in '62.
Yes, and then we followed your ministry with Crossroads, but it was at a week of prayer and fasting that the two of us closed ourselves away for an entire week, that we felt this was the time for daily television. You said, well, you'd have to have that confirmed by the Word of God, and the Lord gave you a psalm that day unto day would be salvation. So you launched that, and for me to work with you, I would have to resign the church and
come full time, because we need it if he was going to be on every day. That's true. So Ralph and Evelyn, God bless you both. And you had quite a bit of time yesterday with the fly episode as well. So thank you very much. Ralph and Evelyn, ladies and gentlemen. And here's Adele, Glenn's wife, and here's Ruth, a lovely artist. I love her oils, her painting. Norm, stand up. Norm, the last time I talked to you, you were driving a big rig across New York State, or maybe it was the time before that. You always told me if I wasn't in full-time ministry, I would be a truck driver. How's it going?
Well, I discovered that truck driving is a full-time ministry.
Because you're working with Transport for Christ. I remember you were called down to Philadelphia or somewhere. A truck driver's marriage was breaking up, and you went down there to minister to them.
Well, that wasn't me. That was another guy. But I've had many of those along the journey. And so it's been an exciting thing, but there's things that are happening, still doing a bit of preaching here and there. But I want to say thank you to you and Norma Jean and to Crossroads for those prayer lines. Yeah. Thousands upon thousands of people, you have come to Christ because of the prayer lines. I hope it's up in the screen.
Let's get the number up right now. Okay, thank you, Norm. God bless.
And David, people are still getting saved.
That's true. That's true. Basil Zaitis, you were the one that taught me that in the Greek language, the word for cartoons or animation is Mickey Mouse. Do you remember that, Basil?
I remember that.
May I say something about this man who pastored a Greek congregation? They had worked for about 3 years, built up a building fund of about $50,000. But they weren't getting anywhere with it. Couldn't find a building in the core of Toronto where they wanted to be. And I remember when they brought the money in and put it on the table and gave it to Crossroads. Within about a year, they had over $300,000 in the fund, and they found a marvelous building. It's the only church I ever knew that gave away their building fund. How about that, Basil?
David, thank you for including the Greek people in your decision in 1969.
And you're still covering Greece on television.
On television, the only Greek Christian television in all of Greece right now.
Bless you, Basil. Thank you so much.